Winter is the time of year when fishing is the last thing on most people's minds, and probably rightfully so. But if you can brave the weather or find yourself a nice warm day, it can absolutely be some of the best fishing you'll have all year. And you know, in the past, it's been a tough time of year for me, but the past couple of years, I've figured a few things out. So what I want to cover today is how to find the fish, where they're going to be at, what to catch them with, and how to catch them. So let's go ahead and start with how to catch them. So as you can see, this video is popping up right now. We found the mother lode of fish here. There's these schools or wolf packs, whatever you want to call these, of fish everywhere, but they're suspended. So traditionally, right, with 2D sonar, you could catch these fish, but they'd be a lot harder. With live scope now, it's a lot easier. So let's go ahead and run through this particular fish catch. There's a few things I want to point out. So as you can see, the first thing is we got too close to these fish. All of a sudden you can see this school of fish start swimming towards the boat. So that tells me that I got too close to them. Sometimes they'll swim towards the boat, sometimes they just swim away, but these fish know the boat's here. Luckily, there's just so many of them that it doesn't really matter right here. So you'll see I drop my bait down, and my buddy here drops his bait down. I want to point out, so I'm going to catch a fish and he's not. I want to show you why. It's all about how you present the bait. So I drop my bait down and I just hold it above the fish. You always want to have your bait above the fish, and as you can see, I catch this one, or I hook this one here, and as my buddy drops his bait down, you'll see that when he stops it, he pops the bait. The bait pops up. You can't do that, right? The fish see that. That doesn't look natural. They know something's up. And as you can see, they swim over, they look at his bait, but they don't eat it. You know, he probably got excited because I just, set the hook on that fish. So, it's easy to get distracted, but you have to absolutely pay attention to the way that you're presenting your baits to these fish, because they've seen them with live scope. Everybody can go out here and do this pretty easy. So, these fish have seen baits before. They're getting pressured, much more pressured than they used to be, but it's also easier to catch them with the technology. So that's kind of a trade-off. And that live scope has helped me to learn so much about what these winter fish do. Next, let's talk about where to find these fish. So a lot of these fish will pull up in these smaller pockets just off the main lake. And, they want to have deep water nearby. So a lot of those fish will, they'll push bait up into those pockets, eat on the bait. And that's why it used to be, before this live scope, when these fish were hard to catch, you could do it with 2D sonar, but it was difficult. We would think it was so tough, but these fish were out there. We would just say, oh, they just weren't eating today. But in reality, they were eating. We just weren't throwing our baits where they were. So, it's where, the forward-facing sonar has opened my eyes and a lot of people's eyes to what the fish actually do on some of these lakes. Like this pocket here where I just showed you where we caught those fish. The fish were in like 40 to 50 foot of water. It was 50 to 60 foot deep probably. And those fish were down pretty close to the bottom. And another thing, it was interesting to see that evening, as it started to get dark, the fish started to move up, and the bait fish, the bass and the bait fish, both started to move up, and they got to basically the surface. They were 10 foot deep, up to the surface. So that was really an interesting transition to see happen. So, I'm not sure exactly if it was cloudy. Those fish would have moved up. That's kind of something I've wondered. And of course, you can find them still around main lake points. They'll be out there on some of that stuff, but the biggest concentrations of fish that I've found have been in those little pockets right off the main lake. Especially if there's a channel swing coming up close to it, that's even better, but it doesn't have to be there. And to find them, I always use my 2D sonar with my through-hole transducer in the back of the boat. So I just run around, run into the pocket, do a loop, come back out, zigzag all over the lake, and I don't stop until I see bait. And people probably look at me and be like, oh my gosh, is that guy drunk? He's just zigzagging, driving over everything, turning left, turning right. But I'm out there looking for bait. And if you find it, there's not always bass on it, because there's more bait than there is bass. But a lot of times that's a great place to start. If you pull up there, scan around, with your down imaging or live scope, it doesn't matter. Scan around. You don't see any bass there, just keep driving around, move on to the next one, and keep searching until you find them, because when they're suspended, you can find them on the electronics. The hard part is catching them. So let's go ahead and talk about what to use to catch these fish. So my personal favorite is a Damiki rig. So basically a Damiki rig is pretty simple. It's just a fluke style bait or something like that with a 90-degree line tie. So as you can see, right, the line comes off of this 90 degrees from the hook shank. And that is critical because as your bait is down there in the water, you want that thing to sit horizontal in the water just like that. If it, comes off at the side, comes off forward, it's gonna sit like that. Now, that doesn't look natural. The fish, sit horizontal in the water. So basically you can use any fluke style bait. This is a Z-Man Streaks, right, in smoked shad color. Personally, I don't think the bait you use is super important. Basically, right, I like these. One of the reasons is the Elastec is just super tough, right? I can catch a bunch of fish, especially if my hands are cold fishing in winter. I don't want to have to keep re-rigging baits, but I know I can probably use this one bait all day long. The only thing I have to say on baits is when it's sunny, I like to use these darker colored baits, kind of translucent baits. And then when it gets cloudier, on darker days, use something that's a little bit lighter. Like this one is kind of translucent yet, so you could probably get away with this on a sunny day, but it's definitely a brighter bait when compared to this smoky shad. This one is Opening Night. Same thing as Streak Z from Z-Man. So one thing that I think is super important is the type of jig head that you use. So of course, like I mentioned earlier, the line tie has to be 90 degrees. But these are the two that I really like, and I'll tell you why. So this is the Damiki rig, like the original Damiki rig from Damiki. And this is a queen tackle tungsten jig head. So these baits have good, or these jig heads have good profiles with the baits. So as you can see, this one, right, it kind of matches the bait. That thing looks really good. It's a really nice natural profile. And even though this is a lead head, these are both 3/8, but this one is shaped where it just looks natural. So this one, on the other hand, is tungsten, so it's got a smaller diameter ball head than like if it was a lead head. So it just looks more natural when you put it on some of these smaller Damiki rig baits. And the other reason I like both these baits is they both have nice small wire, super sharp hooks. So these hooks penetrate the fish really easy. Honestly, you miss a lot of fish. You'll have a lot of fish that just come up and slap the bait. They don't hook up. I'm not sure if they don't eat it or why they don't hook up, but that happens quite a bit, more often than you would think. So what I've moved to is I started throwing these on like a drop shot rod, right? Like a pretty flimsy, I think this is a 7-foot medium. So that's what I throw my Damiki rigs on. And it seems to help. When I use like a medium heavy, it seemed like I'd miss more fish. So that's what I moved to, just to give them a little more time to eat it, not jerk it out of their mouth right away when I set the hooks. And when it comes to the jig head weight, that all just depends how deep you're fishing. These are 3/8. That's what I throw most of the time. That'd be good from anywhere from like 20 to maybe 15 to 35 foot. You can get away with the 3/8. Once you start getting deeper than that, it's good to go up to a 1/2 ounce or maybe even heavier than that. And if you're real shallow, these 3/8 are just going to dive right past the fish. It's where you want to go down to a 1/4 or even an 1/8 of an ounce. If you're real shallow, if the fish are sitting up in like less than 10 foot, you can go to 1/8. But that's how I choose my tackle for this Damiki rig. Other options for catching some of these winter fish if they're shallow, I always like to have a jerkbait on the deck. And this is good, right? Chasing live scope fish is fun, but sometimes I get tired of it. So then I have to go up on the bank, and this is always a good bait to throw around laydowns or rock or whatever else as well. And you can also throw it at some of those shallower suspended fish. This one dives down to about 10 foot, and that's pretty standard for a lot of these deeper or deep style jerk baits, with this longer bill. And I throw this as well on a medium. This is actually a 6/6 medium rod, and that just helps when you're jerking it down, the rod tip doesn't hit the side of the boat, doesn't hit the water as much. And it also helps with these tiny little hooks on this jerkbait. This medium helps when you set the hook, it doesn't pull the hooks out. And you kind of just got to play them out. And a lot of times with these new super sharp hooks that you can get nowadays, if you just play them, a lot of times they'll end up coming to the boat hooked really well. Like even if they start out with just one hook in them, by the time they're done fighting, they have one hook here, one hook down in the, underneath on their belly, one hook on the side. A lot of times they end up hooking themselves better when you're reeling them in. So another option is the old Alabama rig. Alright, setup for this is pretty simple. Throw it on a pretty heavy rod, like a 7/6, heavy, something like that. And 20-pound fluoro, 25-pound fluoro is usually what I use. And of course, I have 2 dummies on this one. And sometimes I've had fish, hit the dummies, but you got to be legal, of course, depending on what state you live in. So this is how I normally rig it. One target, if you will. It's a little brighter colored, a little bit bigger. than the other ones. But I mean, you don't always catch the fish on this one. They'll eat these ones a lot too. You can also throw just a single swim bait, and a lot of times I'll throw this single swim bait when it's either first getting light or when it's getting dark in the evening. I just think the vibration from the tail helps draw the fish in a little bit better. They can't quite see it as good. It just seems like it works a little better in those low light conditions. And that's the same thing for the Alabama rig. I don't like to throw the Alabama rig when it's slick, calm, and sunny. It just seems like it's a little too much for them. They follow it a lot and don't eat it. So thanks for watching, guys. I just wanted to pass along some of the tips I've learned the past couple years to help you shorten your learning curve. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to hit this subscribe button right here. I'm trying to grow the channel, and every subscriber helps. And if you want to watch us catch some of these suspended winter bass, be sure to click on this video right here. Thank you all.